Imagine growing up in a family where your siblings are literally your deadliest competition. Your stepmothers play politics like it's a blood sport, and family dinner usually requires a taste tester. Oh, and your dad's busy conquering half the world while expecting you to somehow prove you're worthy of eventually ruling it. Welcome to your life as Ögedei, third son of the great Conn. Your first glimpse of life is a blur of faces. There's your birth mother, at least 17 stepmothers. You'll need a spreadsheet to keep track, and enough siblings to fill a small army. Another boy, someone announces. Great, just what this family needed. Another contestant in the deadliest reality show ever, Keeping Up with the Khans. Your father's busy conquering half the known world, so instead of a welcome to the family party, you get a quick assessment from the family elder. Strong legs, good for riding. Big lungs, good for war cries. Thanks for the detailed personality review, Grandma. Being the third son is like being the middle child in a family of sharks. Not quite the heir, not quite the spare. You're just there. Your older brothers, Jochi and Chagatai, are already fighting over who gets to inherit the empire, while you're just trying to figure out how to survive your first day without getting trampled by a herd of horses, accidentally misplaced by one of your ambitious stepmothers. And there's your first archery lesson, at age 2. Because in this family, if you can walk, you can shoot. Welcome to the rest of your life, kid. Hope you like horse milk, because that's basically all you've got in the break room. You're 5 years old and already learning that Mongol training makes military boot camp look like summer vacation. Your daily schedule: wake up at dawn, try not to get kicked by your horse, practice archery until your fingers bleed, and figure out which of your stepmothers actually remembers your name today. Higher, faster, you shoot like a sleepy goat. Your instructor yells as you try to hit the targets while galloping. Nothing like positive reinforcement, Mongol style. Your older brothers watch from their horses, betting on whether you'll fall off today. Joke's on them, you've already fallen 3 times, and your bruises have bruises. At this point, your body's mostly held together by spite and fermented mare's milk. Lunch break means your first taste of the family's favorite delicacy, horse meat. Eat up, your brother Chagatai grins, shoving a plate toward you. It's what makes a true warrior. The meat's so tough, it's like trying to chew leather armor. Think of it as endurance training for your jaw. Jochi laughs. You're pretty sure this particular horse was around when your father started conquering the world. Speaking of endurance, try living life on permanent road trip mode. Just when you've figured out which end of the yurt is least likely to collapse in the wind, it's time to move again. Back up, comes the order. Your father calls it strategic mobility. You call it never having a stable address for mail delivery. And then there's the cold. We're talking freeze your mare's milk mid-air cold. Negative 40 degrees? That's just Tuesday in Mongolia. Your siblings have a betting pool on who'll get frostbite first, while your eyebrows have more icicles than hair. Good thing we have all this horse meat to keep us warm, Chagatai jokes, while chipping ice off his saddle. Though I can't tell if this meat is frozen or just extra tough today. Sword training comes next, and your siblings turn everything into a competition. Last one to draw blood has to clean the yurts. They call it practice. But it feels more like a very pointy version of family therapy. You're getting better though. Yesterday, you actually managed to block 3 strikes before face-planting in the dirt. Progress. Between dodging arrows, avoiding political schemes, and trying to remember which brother you're currently feuding with, you're somehow surviving. Though you can't help but notice how your father's training supervision consists mainly of reports from generals and occasional grunts of "don't die." Thanks, Dad. Really feeling the love. Your first real campaign arrives faster than your latest stepmother's addition to the family. Dad's finally decided you're ready to join the family business of aggressive real estate acquisition across Asia. The pressure's on. Time to prove you're more than just the awkward middle child who's surprisingly good at not dying. Try to keep up, little brother, Chagatai shouts as you ride out. Your position in the formation is about as prestigious as being the backup dancer in someone else's TikTok. You're technically part of the show, but nobody's really watching. By the time your father arrives with reinforcements, you've not only survived, but turned the ambush into a victory. Not completely terrible, he grunts, which, in Genghis Khan's emotional vocabulary, is basically a tearful embrace. Your brothers look at you differently now, a mix of surprise and newfound respect, though you're pretty sure Chagadai's already planning how to spin this story to make himself look better at the next family dinner. Welcome to Mongol court politics, where the drama's hotter than a desert campaign and twice as deadly. Even when everyone's stuck in the same yurt during a negative 40-degree winter storm, you're learning that surviving battle is actually the easy part. It's navigating family dinner that requires real strategic genius. Your brothers are playing 4D chess while you're still trying to figure out which of your father's advisors is actually spying for which stepmother. At least the freezing temperature keeps everyone too numb to successfully wield a poison dagger. Another drink? Asks a suspiciously friendly cousin. you've learned to check your cup like you check your saddle straps, thoroughly and with healthy paranoia. Being third in line means everyone thinks they can either use you or ignore you. Joke's on them. Being underestimated is like having an invisibility cloak in a court full of backstabbers. Your father's watching, though. Between conquests, he's playing his own game of succession. Yes, that's a double succession. It's that complicated. You start noticing how he tests each son differently. Jochi gets military commands, Ögedei gets administrative tasks, and you get increasingly challenging situations that seem suspiciously designed to test both your judgment and alcohol tolerance. Turns out those tests meant more than anyone expected. A month later, the entire empire gathers for what feels like the finale of the world's deadliest reality show, the succession announcement. The tension's so thick you could slice it with a ceremonial sword, which, knowing your family, someone might actually try. Your father stands before the gathering, looking like he's either about to name his heir or launch another invasion of China. With him, it's always a toss-up. Everyone's betting on either Jochi or Ögedei. You're just hoping to get through this without having to chug more fermented mare's milk than your liver can handle. My chosen successor, Genghis, Conn announces, pausing for dramatic effect, like he's hosting Mongolia's Got Talent, is Ögedei. Wait, what? You nearly fall off your horse, which would have been really embarrassing for the newly announced future Khan. The crowd's reaction is a mix of shock, confusion, and rapid recalculation of political alliances. Your brother's hands instinctively move to their sword hilts, always a fun reaction at family gatherings, but your father is not done. Ögedei has what the empire needs, he declares, probably remembering all those times you've stopped your brothers from turning family dinner into a civil war. He can keep peace while you two are busy trying to stab each other. Well, that's definitely a compliment, even if it's basically saying you're the only one with enough common sense not to turn the empire into a family feud show. The next few hours are like the most awkward family reunion ever. Your older brothers are giving you looks that could curdle mare's milk, while your younger siblings suddenly remember your name. Stepmothers, who previously couldn't pick you out of a lineup, are now your biggest fans. They always said he was special, claims one who definitely called you whatever your name is just yesterday. You're starting to understand why your father chose you. Not because you're the strongest, smartest, or even the most sober, but because you're the only one who might actually keep this dysfunctional family from turning the empire into history's biggest family feud. Though right now, you'd honestly prefer another ambush to more congratulatory hugs from relatives who may or may not be plotting your demise. 12 years later, and you've somehow survived being a Khan longer than anyone expected. Especially that one advisor who kept accidentally mixing up your drink orders. Now you're watching your own sons play out the same succession drama. Except this time, you're the one with the power to traumatize a new generation. Your drinking hasn't exactly improved with time, but at least now, when you get drunk and make questionable decisions, they're officially imperial decrees. Your Majesty, an advisor interrupts you, reminiscing. Your sons are fighting again. Apparently, one of them suggested the others should explore career opportunities in distant China. How thoughtful. The irony isn't lost on you. You're now the father watching his sons compete, just like Genghis did. But you've learned a few things about family management that your father never figured out. Instead of letting them plot against each other, you assign them joint projects. Nothing builds brotherly bonds like shared suffering, right? As you sit at your final feast, the weight of the empire feels heavier than ever. Watching your sons squabble reminds you of your own youth, of endless competitions, family feuds, and the impossible task of living up to Genghis Khan's legacy. But through it all, one lesson stands out. Unity is the only thing stronger than ambition. You raise your cup, addressing your sons with unexpected clarity. An empire built on conquest is easy to win, but hard to keep. Remember this, strength is found not in swords or horses, but in the bonds we forge. Only together can you carry this legacy forward. Your final feast with Abd-ur-Rahman turns out to be more festive than planned. As the warmth of the wine spreads, you reflect on your life. You weren't the strongest or the fiercest, but you kept the empire intact, proving that leadership isn't about dominating others, it's about holding them together. In your final moments, you smile, thinking of your father. At least, you mutter, I kept them from killing each other, mostly. With that, you fade, leaving behind a lesson as enduring as the empire itself. Greatness lies not in conquest, but in building something worth preserving.